Chrysalis for me was unlike any other leadership development experience that I've ever had. I would have to say that it was truly transformational. At first I was apprehensive about the time commitment that it was understood to take. I'm going through a time in my life where personally there's a lot of challenges in my personal life, and it's a turbulent time, and I wasn't sure that I could make the commitment that Chrysalis would be requiring. In hindsight, I think it was the best decision that I could have ever made.
The last 12 to 18 months have been a period of enormous growth for me, and I believe the Chrysalis Leadership Program has been an enormous part of that. I feel incredibly fortunate to work for a company like Northwestern Mutual that provides stretch opportunities for growth that help the company as a whole, as well as leadership opportunities like this that create growth for the individual.
At the risk of sounding flattering, it is beyond rewarding to work for a company that invests in my personal and professional development. It is my hope and belief that Chrysalis did not just positively impact the 15 of us, but it will impact all the people that we personally and professionally interact with as we intentionally invest ourselves in their development.
From my perspective, what Chrysalis did was flip my whole personal journey of growth on its head, and that was an amazing gift.
Leadership passages, the personal and professional transition that make or break a leader. Accepting the stretch assignment, dealing with significant failure.
This is one of my favorite books, and the reason that I liked it is that it explained how going through these passages you learn to be a leader. Another concept in the book was that good leaders fail frequently. And actually, failing is a great opportunity to learn. It gives you a second chance to look at what happened and to learn from the experience.
The book that I had chosen was Daniel Pink's The Whole New Mind. And one of the senses that he calls on us who've grown up in the information age and in an extremely L-directed thinking way is to use symphony, to take all the disparate parts and to synthesize them.
I probably had trouble with The Prince the most. Mm-hmm. But it was weird because it was interesting and difficult at the same time. It stretched my perspective and made me think about things a little differently, but it was a tough book to get through because it wasn't what I expected going in. So that was probably the toughest one for me.
John Young enlightened me completely when we were in the class.
I picked it up, I saw it was Machiavelli, and I thought, ooh. A different bit. Antoine Exupery, right? The time that we take to reflect as an investment rather than an expenditure, or as opposed to an expenditure. Not that one is necessarily better than the other.
Having the discussion changed my perspective of that book.
Yeah.
So that's an example where you can read a book and have one impression, and then discuss it with other people and have a different impression after you're done. And when the class is over, I will continue to read because I found so much enjoyment and value out of reading. I learned a lot of things in Chrysalis, but a few of the major things that I took away that were surprising to me was one, around reflection. I learned the importance of reflection. I learned that I could be good at reflection. I learned a lot about how to do it by practicing it through Chrysalis. The second thing is really around creativity. At the time going into the class, I didn't think I was very creative, and I didn't think it could be something I would ever get better at. And the third thing really is around reading books. When I first had the opportunity, and the class was offered to me, I thought, man, how am I going to get through all these books in such a short period of time? I'm not a big book reader, and I read magazines and things like that, but not books. So I was like, how am I going to do that? And but I was surprised not only that I got through the books, but I really found that I enjoyed the books. I enjoyed the time I was spending reading. I developed my reflection abilities through reading the books, and then through the discussions afterwards, it really helped me grow and understand that.
One of the things that I learned from Chrysalis is to take more personal risks. This program, you couldn't really sit on the sidelines at all. And you were leading a group discussion, activity, or even a social at the end of the day.
I think the biggest thing that I learned through the program was just not to try to be somebody else's ideal, but to leverage my own experiences, ideas, and interests in order to create my own leadership style. And it really seems like a simple thing, but it's very powerful in its application.
I learned a really important lesson about self-awareness. For me, self-awareness in the past has always been about knowing myself well enough that I could fix all of those things I didn't like about myself. By doing so, instead of focusing on what I needed to fix, I began to think more about embracing who I really am. And by so doing, to trust myself more, to be more courageous, and to frankly get out of my own way.
You know, I've always believed that you get an enormous part of growth and learning from the people that you interact with, from your peers, and this program is no exception. Working with the different people in this program, you get much different perspectives, different challenges, different opportunities.
Reading books really aren't enough. One of the things that Chrysalis has done is forced us to set targets and goals, to become vulnerable, to really engage, and that's made the information in the books come to life. And then really it's been each other, the chance to hear and learn from other people who you respect, hearing from speakers that have come from other companies and their philosophies, how they've gone on their journey. The program has been truly named well. It's been about growth, not just trying to gain some ideas from a book, but how do you wear them, become them.
When I was first asked to join the Chrysalis program, I was new to IS. I think it was, I had been there like 3 months. And I was really kind of concerned because I'm like, ooh, I've been in the business for 20 years. This is a group of IS people. How's that going to play out? And one of the things that I felt was, man, I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot in common with this group of people. But the surprising thing for me was as we moved through the program and started talking about things, I was shocked by how much we did have in common. I mean, we were all going through changes, either from blending or the realignment, and we were all feeling very similar things. And to me, that was one of the big ahas. I'm like, wow, we seem to be very different on the surface, but when it gets right down to it, we have a heck of a lot in common.
And more than just reading the books, it was the discussion with the group that made it so valuable, because each of those books on itself, read by itself, would be interesting, but it didn't have or would not have had the depth for me that was brought by the discussion and the relationships that I was able to build with the rest of the team.
I think Chrysalis has brought us together as a leadership group. A good example of that is the personal coat of arms that we had to develop. The timing of it towards the end of the sessions was very good. We had 6 months of getting to know each other, and the process of reflection and developing our coat of arms ended up being surprisingly an emotional experience for many of us. And I don't think that would have happened without the level of trust that we had built up over the last 6 months.
I did mine, well, let me tell you a little bit first about what I've got on here. I got a lot of my hobbies in the middle, including this is my garden right here. You can see that. And I've got my favorite running shoes crossed by my swords, which are actually my golf clubs.
We laughed, we cried, we shared experiences and values, and we learned from each other and how to support each other. I look forward to continuing this communication with this team, sharing thoughts and feelings and growing together. And I really want to support this team any way that I can in the future.
Thank you. Chrysalis has been an amazing experience. Thank you to the many people who had to come together to make it possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
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 That's a lot of books. Wow, well, let's see what I get to read here. How to read a book. It's a remedial reading program. Huh. Some thick ones, too. Looks good, though. Oh, boy, how am I going to get through all this stuff? Well, let's do some calculations here. Looks like maybe 16 books times, what do they got to be, like 250 pages a pop? 4,000 pages. Well, let's see, this thing's gonna last like, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 30 days a pop, so divided by 180 days. Oh, 22 pages a day. I can knock that out no problem. I'll get started tonight. Alright, book 1, chapter 1, page 1. This would be great. Okay, so that was 4,000 pages divided by 179 days.